So that's the point I think Chip Kelly's making that I think resonated with so many people because it sounded his 2-minute soliloquy. We played that last hour before you were coming here for our audience. His concept of let's not wait for Notre Dame essentially to join a conference. Let's have all the conferences become Notre Dame under the construct of a commissionership and 64 teams that I guess are decided that are allowed into the football being removed from everybody else's athletic departments. Everybody else can go under the same old construct. Like the Pac-12 could technically still exist for the Olympic sports or the or even basketball.
But not football, yeah.
But football is separate. And let's come up with rules that does handle the issues best that they can of NIL and transfer portal and scheduling and things of that nature and playoffs. And let's go and do that. Why not is what I'm asking you. Why what that sounds too normal.
It does, and he has had some of these ideas for a while. We've had these conversations offline, at least dating back the last 4 months. And there's because he even talked about how because he's more familiar with the NFL model than most college coaches because he coached in the NFL.
He described it where you're going to be playing a certain other conference in a rotational basis,
just
in the
like
same way
the NFL divisional models.
Right.
Yeah, and the other things that he talked about was how the TV rights would work. Now, some of this though, if you're ESPN, you basically own the playoff. You own a lot of college football. Some of these TV deals are going to, how are you going to get around some of them?
So then make a commissioner consortiumship of, your boss at Fox, the bosses at ESPN, just hand it off to them. I think there's all honesty. Like, I mean, there are some athletic directors who have come from ESPN. You know what I mean? So
one of the things that Chip has talked about for a while, and it's something the head coach of your alma mater talks about, is revenue sharing. And, what percentage of that, like he has been pretty bullish on the players need to get taken care of. And Harbaugh has talked about that publicly. I don't know, it's hard to get these people together on a lot of things. And I'll use this as an example. So a year from now, we're going to have a playoff. It would be running right now and into the portal, into signing day. And one of the coaches, a head coach I spoke to this week said, and this is a guy who's on the AFC board, because we haven't even talked about that. Meaning like stuff just happens and they cannot get out in front of anything. Chip, like a lot of coaches, their frustration was a lot of the rules that college football, major college football has to deal with often come from places that are not major college, presidents or ADs. Their orbit or their perspective or what they deal with is it's not apples and oranges. It's like apples and spam. It's a completely different thing. And so that's why I think he looks at, independent status and all those other things. But I think Chip might be a really good person to be the commissioner of this. Well, he doesn't want to be, but I was like, I don't think anybody, our old, I think you probably worked with him back in the day too, Tim Brando, he's been talking about a conference commissioner since he was probably at ESPN. And he's railed at it. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had over drinks with him where he would talk about that. But he is not wrong, at least about that. He is not wrong about that.
I was about to say, Timmy B's conference commissioner meetings would be amazing. Tim Brando.
But he's been talking about that for a long time.
But the question is who's going to say this is madness? We're smart people. There's a lot of money at stake. We all understand the revenues involved. Let's figure it out. Because you just said something, Bruce Feldman, that totally blows my mind. So next year, coaches of programs that are now the first round of this college football playoffs will be getting ready for the games while they're figuring out who's coming in for National Signing Day and who's in the portal and who's not. Obviously, I know they have staffs for that. But get out of here. It's so stupid. It's dumb. And this is supposed to be higher education. Why are we doing that? So figure out who's to do it. And I will just, as I said to you before, to these guys here before, Chip Kelly saying what he's saying about, paying players and whatever and doing that sort of thing. He needs to be careful because at least Harbaugh's got the NFL to fall back on when he's getting drummed out. Chip Kelly, I don't know if the NFL is going to be there for him.
No, I don't think Chip cares about he's going to say what he thinks, and I don't think he's worried about that kind of thing. He's giving his opinion on it.
And it makes complete sense. So then I guess the last thing for you is so what will be the impetus that next year a bunch of blue blood programs will be like, this is nuts. We're getting ready for a college football playoff game, and I got to make sure this kid is actually going to sign his letter of intent, and I'm going to be texting in the middle of a film session, or I'm stepping off a podium to do my media availability for a college football playoff first round game. I'm on the road. I got to figure out how to go on the road, and I'm in the middle of all the recruiting. Who's going to step in and do this? Who's going to be the
I think
adult?
one of the things, in this particular coach I talked to made the point of look, everybody knows we're well compensated. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us, but logistically, it can't hold up.
It can't. So what I'm saying is, who's going to be? Who is it? Sankey? Is it one of the? It
would have to be somebody like that, because if it can't be, look, the ACC commissioner Jim Phillips, who was a former AD at Northwestern, is a Notre Dame guy. I think he's one of the smarter guys in college athletics. Now he's ended up stepping in it from time to time because he's coming out of the ACC, and everybody's trying to speak to their constituents, right? That's the part where it gets kind of sticky. Is who are the people who are going to have the platform, who are going to have the stomach to do that? I'm not saying they don't exist, but it'd be interesting to see who would get into that. There's been a bunch of stuff where I feel like Greg Sankey has wanted to do the right thing for the big picture, but he also knows he's the one with the most clout because he's the one with the most resource programs, has a huge TV deal. Some of these other places, like the Big Ten, is similarly well resourced, but the Big Ten leadership has been so up and down, from Kevin Warren, who is, dealing with all sorts of stuff, and then he jumps to the NFL. You got Tony Bachetti, who's had a rocky first year. He obviously knows the TV business. That's where he came from. The Pac-12, was essentially rudderless. You have everybody is so trying to do their own thing, because if they realize they don't, somebody's poaching them. It's a really strange dynamic. I'm not saying it's never going to get sorted out. They have to figure it out sooner than later, but I don't know who steps in the middle of it, because just knowing what I know about how the CFP operates, there's stuff behind the scenes that would kind of blow people's minds if they knew the level of dysfunction and knives out that goes in with that stuff.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.